Hey, welcome back to Driven Channel. I'm here with a really special guest, Niyc Pidgeon. You're a positive business and psychology coach, right? And author of 2 books. And one thing about you is that you're super positive. Like, you're always smiling. I don't usually smile, but you make me like want to smile more.
Good. So I did my job right.
Yeah. and like I'm looking at your new book, which I'm one of the lucky ones to have this book. And this is not out yet, right? It's coming out, and I have the first one out, I guess.
You do, Advanced Coffee.
And I was looking through the chapters, and everything is like about positivity, positive environments, micro moves. Like I saw a lot of like little things that lead to bigger things in the positive world, and how psychology is very important for sales, to be rich. We even talked about some positive sexual stuff with psychology. So I want you to like give everybody here your secrets to all of that.
For sure.
And how you learn all of that. But very grateful to have you, Niyc. And I want to get started with you. First of all, like, how did you learn all of this, and where did you start from? Did you come from a wealthy family? Did you come from nothing? And how did you become who you are today?
Yeah, it's interesting because I wasn't supposed to study positive psychology. It's not what I studied at school. I was going to be a mechanical and automotive engineer.
Yeah.
I'm from the UK, from a place called Newcastle. Parents were not entrepreneurs. Didn't grow up with money, but then when I was around 11 or 12 years old, I got bullied really badly. And I was actually homeschooled for 6 months because I was taken out of the school that I was in. And my dad decided that he was going to place a bet on this young kid. Yeah. And he actually remortgaged the house to be able to pay for me to go to a better school. So I feel like that really gave me a different start in life at that early age, where I was put into a network of people that weren't necessarily the same as where I was from. And my dad said that it was the best and the worst thing that he's ever done, because he said I was at the bottom of the pile and everybody had more money than us. But he said, you know what, Niyc? You made the best of that opportunity and you took it and you really ran with it. So that's where it all began back in Newcastle. And then going through high school, I just loved cars. Cars. Yeah. And I wanted to be, my dad was such an influence on me. He told me, you need to be a girl in a man's world, and you need to earn a lot of money. And a lot of money for us at that time was £30,000 a year. So that's probably what, $40,000?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my goal. I wanted to go and work in Formula One, work on the cars. And it was only when my ex-partner, who was a professional cricket player, came home from a sports psychology session one day, and he said, Niyc, I've had this crazy session. And the psychologist told me, when you're out on the cricket field, don't focus on the fielders. Look for the gaps in between them instead. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because how many times in life do we focus on the problems and what's going wrong instead of the opportunities? So then I canceled my degrees and I decided to become a psychologist.
That's awesome. Before we get into problem solving, what's your favorite car? Do you like exotic cars? Do you have any exotic cars right now, or what's up with the exotic cars?
I have a DB11 right now, which I love.
That's like the James Bond car, huh?
It is the James. Yeah. So I'm a good English woman. Yeah. I love it. And I'm thinking of getting the DB12. But yeah, I love cars. I'd love a Ferrari. Love a Rolls. Yeah.
But you're more into the English cars.
Yeah, I love English cars.
Yeah. You don't like Rolls Royce?
I love Rolls Royce. I saw the new Lamborghini the other day as well.
Yeah.
They've got it in the dealership here.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So 50 million in sales, right? You've been part of that. Is that you've done 50 million of sales, or you've helped people create 50 million of sales?
Both. So I have done more than 8 figures in sales myself. I then have students that have scaled their businesses through 8 figures. And these are normal people, normal backgrounds, setting up online businesses.
Like how normal and how easy do they make these sales? Like what do they sell?
I mean, it's a great question because how easy is anything? I always say if people knew what it took to be an entrepreneur, nobody would ever set up a business because they see the success on social media and they think, oh, well, it must be really easy, but they don't see the behind the scenes of what goes on. So I think it's all relative. We live in a world where having an online business now, it is an easy way to make cash. There's a lot of freedom. You get to do what you love. But also you still have to have a solid structure and a foundation. And I think there's not enough conversation around what it really takes.
What's let's say your top 3 students, like what kind of income are they making online?
I mean, top 3, they're making like 20 million in their business online, 16 million.
Like a year?
No, probably more like 7 million a year.
Okay.
But they've done 20 million in the last few years.
Yeah. How do you make 7 million online?
It's crazy, isn't it? I actually also have a student who did 100 million. So online.
100 million in a year? Or total?
In a year.
In a year, he made 100 million online.
So a lot of it is.
Teach me that, please.
I know, it's on. Let's do it.
We'll just talk about that the whole podcast.
I mean, I always say work backwards from the goal.
Yeah.
So if you've got something you want to accomplish, don't start from where you're at. Start with the end in mind and reverse engineer it. So then you look at what would be the easiest business model to create to actually get that result based on you, your personality, the audience that you've got, and then what you're an expert in. So a lot of my students are already expert in something. They're not starting right from the start. So even though they might be starting in online business, they've already got a career in corporate or they've already really excelled at something. So I'm not teaching people to find out what they want to do. They already know what they want to do. It's more about aligning that with how to maximize who they are and connect that with the strategy for the business so that they can amplify their success.
Yeah. So this 100 million earner, like I'm just curious, you wouldn't have to say any names or nothing, but this person, were they highly skilled in something and that's why they're able to charge that much money?
Yeah, so that's actually a product-based business for that one. All of the others tend to be coaching businesses, information.
What's the highest or one of the highest coaching people that you've taught?
In terms of what they've earned? 20 million.
20 million?
Yeah.
And how does that look like? Like let's say if I hire you as my coach, like right now, how would I make 20 million?
Are we going to do that by the end of the show?
Like how would I, because I have some coaching products that I sell and we have masterminds and things like that. We do events. But I'm not making 20 million a year in coaching. So I do have a company, a mortgage company that has been up and running for 12 years, 11 years for a real estate brokerage. And then we have other companies like Driven Enterprises. That's the event one. That one's going on 9 years. And then we have an escrow company. And then we have a new company that's business lending. So I could teach people business. I mean, how to stay in business for over a decade. But like, what would you mentor me in how to do it and versus how this person made 20 million? Because right now I do make, I make 6 figures a month, multiple 6 figures a month with coaching maybe, but I'm not making like a million or a month or like some other people that I hear are making.
Yeah.
And then also really quick, I don't know if they really make a million like they say, or if the net is a lot lower because they got to pay closers or people that's setters, and then how many ads they're running. So they might make maybe 200K net versus $1 million. Like, so I don't know how that works, but you know how that works.
I mean, it could also be $1 million in sales.
Yeah.
And then that revenue or the cash comes in over time. So it's all across the board. For someone like you, I would look at what is it that you're doing that already works. So if the events and the masterminds are already working, then I would double down on what's already working and do more of it and just push more traffic into the funnel so that you can scale it. I actually see a lot of people make the mistake of getting excited when one thing works and then they launch a completely different thing.
Right.
And now your energy is diluted.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would look at is, so if I take the two examples, a student that has earned 16 million and a student that's earned 20 million, those two businesses are actually different. So they're both selling coaching, but one of them has a low ticket membership model with a huge audience. The other one has an online course. So you look at where's the person starting at and what would be the best phase of growth or business model for their phase of growth.
Yeah.
So I teach a method called Nail It and Scale It. And that's really looking at doing one thing really well and scaling it and then shifting your business model. So whether you're starting in one-on-one coaching or you're starting with like a group coaching course, an online course, a membership, doing it at the right time based on your audience and who you are and where you're at.
Yeah. So let's say I have a mastermind that I do 2 times a month. I was doing it 1 time a month, and I started it by making it every like a Saturday, and it's $5,000 to join, and it's 1 day, all day about business, 9 in the morning till about 8 p.m. more or less, because we have a networking event after, and then that worked really good. So then I did what you said. I doubled down on it.
Yeah.
So we're doing that 2 times a month now. But then like my assistant and people, you know, my videographers and my wife and people, they're like, man, it's 2 times. And I'm like, yeah, we got to do it 2 times. So that obviously, it's not an issue because we could also hire more people because it's very profitable, but it was working really good. So then I said, well, why don't we just do $7,500? So now we're doing $7,500 2 times a month. But then if I could do it every Saturday, if I could do it every day and have 10 people, I mean, and have no life, maybe once a month I'll take it off. But I wouldn't mind, because how much is that? 10 people every day, $7,500. That's a lot.
It's
now,
a great business. The
problem with that is that, at least for me, but you're going to tell me how to fix it right now, is I can't reach enough qualified buyers by myself. Because right now I go live on Instagram and all the other platforms too, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So I find people when I go live, and then they come. So recently I started running some ads to get more people. So if I run enough ads, can I at least fill it up every Saturday, 4 times a month? Or what would you advise me on how to do it? Because also I don't want to run ads to break even just to have more work and the net to be the same. I don't know if I make any sense, but how would you fix that problem?
Okay, I love a problem like this. So
because you're a good problem solver.
Yeah, I love it.
I want to learn.
So there's a couple of different ways that you could do it. So you could absolutely run ads and have more people more consistently coming to these events and run them every week of the month. Yeah. So that's a simple like math problem. It's put more people in the front of the funnel, you'll get more people in the room. What I would actually recommend is either sticking with doing it twice a month or even doing it once a month, but having more people come to that event. So rather than it being just 10 people, doubling the size of the event and having 20 people or 40 people. So now your costs aren't actually going up because you're only running the event once a month. So you don't need more team necessarily. You're scaling the event. And then you want to look at, are you going to grow an audience? So you either build it, you buy it, or you borrow it. So you have a really loyal, amazing audience and you show up for them and you go live. That's the audience you've built. They're going to sign up for your event. You could buy it through ads. So that would also be a great strategy. And for events, what I'm looking for with an event, so I run $97 events and I'm looking for that first level of profit. So you're looking for it to self-liquidate in the funnel. So when you get on the stage, anything that you are doing, that you're doing upgrades or anything like that, then that's pure profit from the stage. So with something like your event that's $7,500, That's very easy to do. So you're not just looking to break even, but you want to make a profit before you get on the stage. The third way is to borrow audience. So you find 10 people in Los Angeles that also have loyal audiences that you can get in front of as a guest expert. So you could go on their podcast, you could go into their mastermind, you could speak at their retreat. Because I always think about this. I think about what is the behavior of the person that you want to come to your event. So if somebody's already at an event, they are likely to want to go to another event. Mm-hmm. So the students that come to our retreats, they love flying around the world. So how can you get in front of more of your ideal client by borrowing from other people's audiences?
Yeah. So like, for example, you being on my podcast, you're borrowing my audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You come to the Driven event, then you're borrowing the audience, right?
Mm-hmm. And then you come and speak at mine and you're borrowing mine.
Yeah. So you think there's enough business for everyone? What are your thoughts on that? Because I'm sure people here are watching this and then they're thinking, wait, so am I going to go to this conference, that conference, this conference, this conference? And then a lot of the conferences, they have the same speakers. Mm. So should you keep, do you pay attention to that or get a little bit concerned about that? Or do you think you should just be on as many conferences as you can, podcast, and then bring them to yours, because then you're borrowing their audience, but then they're borrowing your audience. So is there anything to be careful about that or no?
I think when you are starting in business, you want to do everything that you can to look after your audience. Yeah. Whilst also getting in front of others. Yeah. I think once you've built an audience, once you've got a platform, once you know what you're selling, you know who you are, you know your messaging, then you have the opportunity to be more discerning about where you speak and what stages you go on and vice versa. Yeah. I have an abundant mindset and I think there's always enough business and there's always going to be more. So I have a very generosity focused, like set of values in the way I operate. Yeah. So rather than thinking somebody's going to take something from me, I always show up and I think, what can I actually give? Like, how can I show up and give your audience and your community the most value possible? Mm-hmm. Because someone can hear it. Okay, so my students can hear something from me 10 times and not listen to it. But as soon as you say it, they'll listen. Right. So it can be delivered with a slightly different message or vocabulary, and it'll land differently for everyone. The other thing to remember, people go to events, they go to the same events year after year after year. The tools don't have to change because we are always evolving. So who we are right now is not who we were last year. So you show up to an event, somebody could ask the same question and you'll have a completely different insight or response because of who you are at that time. So
you believe in, you're a different you every year. So every year you're an improved version of Nick. Mm. Yeah?
I would hope so.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people, they say, well, I have 20 years of experience. Mm. But you see them and, you know, they don't seem that financially successful. They don't seem like in the best shape. They don't seem like they've grown. They just seem a little older, a little less healthy, a little overweight, and they maybe even a little bit less smart. So what I think is they have 1 year of experience that they have repeated 20 times. Ooh. Versus having like 20 years of experience. Because I think it's nothing to be proud of if you have 20 years of experience, but you're still making the same income that you were 20 years ago. So like for you, what you said is you give me that, what I understand is every year you should improve a lot so that you're a newer, better version every year. That's why if you come and speak at another event or the same event, people are going to learn something new, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I would hope to be exponentially growing as well, because I feel like we're always learning so much. Life gets busier. We've got more access to technology and tools. And there's that phrase that Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're actually dying.
Yeah.
So if you're not making the progress.
That's his phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear it from other people too.
Yeah,
like
probably.
People say it,
Borrow
repeat it. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, because sometimes people get bothered because they copy a phrase from somebody and then they make it their phrase, and then people start arguing, oh no, it's somebody else's phrase. And I mean, they copied it or learned it from somebody else too, right? Tony Robbins probably learned it from somebody before him. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you believe that all your content should be original, or do you think that when you learn something, you could repeat it?
Have you ever read the book Big Magic?
No.
So that teaches, the concept is that there's all of these ideas, like imagine they're up in a cloud somewhere in consciousness, and the ideas are waiting to drop down. It's just who is the person that is actually ready to receive them. So that's why multiple people can have innovative ideas at the same time in different places in the world.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately knowledge is there to be shared, and we learn from our own experience. I think if you're doing something like growing a quote account on Instagram, then yes, you have to credit the source, and you should do your due diligence to find the source.
Yeah.
If you're writing a book, same thing. It's all referenced. It's all quotes and things. However, even with writing a book, when you're looking at research and you're looking at journal articles, somebody has done the first 10 steps already. You're then taking that and you're building on it. So it's like, why try and reinvent the wheel if there's already so much there that we can utilize anyway? So I don't necessarily think there's many new ideas and concepts out there. It's more like we build on them together based on what's already existing.
One of your chapters in your new book, One More Day, is positive environments.
Yeah.
What can you just elaborate on that and tell me what does it mean to be in positive environments? What do you mean by positive environments? Because I believe in that a lot, but I want to hear from you. Like, what does it mean?
Yeah, I do believe in it. I think your conditions are never going to be ideal. So you want to get away from thinking that everything's going to be perfect, and you can kind of dig in and do the work anyway. And what the science shows is that we can thrive and flourish psychologically in relationships and also in business when we have environments that are supportive to our success. So a positive environment might look like you surrounding yourself with the 5 people that you know are going to challenge you, they're going to celebrate you, they're going to uplift you into positive conversations. So your mindset shifts so that you can then be motivated to do more. Yeah. Positive environment might look like having a hot bath with candles. That's also an example of a positive environment. But ultimately, it's like, what do you need in order to step into the future version of yourself that is the best version of you that you're becoming?
Yeah. So can a positive environment be being around 5 positive people that are broke? Or how about like being around 5 people that are like super successful entrepreneurs? Like what's the difference? Because somebody can be like, sometimes like I drive by the bridge to go inside the freeway, and then there's like a homeless and very positive person. Maybe I'm kind of exaggerating here, but very positive person. They're happy. I give them like $100 bill, and they're really excited, and they tell me a lot of positive things, but they're not necessarily maybe happy themselves, unless they're maybe happy themselves, but or maybe not even not going to the exaggerating mode. But let's just say you have 5 average friends, average income, but they're very positive all the time. Would you consider that positivity, or do you also have to be around people more successful than you? Because I heard something, I heard something on the podcast where if you are around negative people or broke people, they're gonna affect you 30%. But if you're around positive people and rich people, successful people, then they're only gonna improve you by 15%. So it takes longer and it's harder to get better and improve and grow than it is to like get worse. So I think that's why some people, when they're hanging around negative, toxic people, they just go down quicker So it's very important to be aware of the people you're around, like the 5 people that you're the closest with, because it could be a 45% switch, because you lose the 15% that you improve, and then you go down 30%. So it's like a 45% switch. I don't know if this is correct, but I was listening to a podcast, and this is the way they explained it. So do you believe that being around negative people drowns you faster, and it's way faster to drown than to improve?
Absolutely. And it's a fundamental theory in positive psychology. So there's something called the positivity ratio, which says that you need 3 positive emotions for every negative emotion, because the negative is stronger.
Yeah.
And there's something in the brain called negativity bias. So that means we remember bad things more easily, we hold on to them, and they deplete our energy. So if you're looking to feel better, it's not just about adding in more good things. It's actually also about eliminating the things that don't make you feel good as well. And then when it comes to a marriage, it's more like between 5 to 11 positives to outweigh the negative.
Is that why a lot of people don't last in marriage?
It could be. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of different elements that go into it, but I think, so the study was originally done in teams. So you could go into your office and you could track down how many positive communications have there been. And I've been in your office. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you've got an amazing culture.
Yeah.
So that is something that is actually proven to help your team be stronger and more successful. People feel good. It opens up the brain, ready for the intake of information. They become more solution focused. They have better days at work. And then as soon as you've got somebody, I mean, when I started my businesses, everyone said, Nick, you can't do it. You're crazy. Why do you think you can be an entrepreneur? And honestly, for the first 5 years, they were right. I didn't do that well. I struggled and suffered. But what I did was I listened to myself, and I listened to my intuition and the goals that I had. And I decided, what is the result that I want? So I think when you're talking about positive environments and positive people, you want to start with that result in mind.
Right.
So do you want success? Do you want financial success? Do you want to build a life and business like you have? How can you get in the room? Is it coming to a driven event? That's an example of a positive environment. If it's you want to have a successful marriage, who are your 5 role models in relationship? How can you spend more time with them?
When you said about my the headquarters here, the office, that it's a positive environment, what stood out for you? What are like 3 things or that you liked, so that I can focus more on that, and people that are watching this can focus? Because I've seen some offices where you go in there and it's almost like you can't breathe, or you feel like you it's so quiet, and you hear like that little noise that's like very low, but it's almost like you went into the devil's room or something like that. But you feel a negative energy where you get a headache. I don't know if you know what I mean, but you go into a negative environment, and everybody's gossiping, everybody's talking shit about other people, everybody is just making up excuses why it's not good right now. What are things that you saw here, and what are things that you can recommend me to improve it even a little bit?
I mean, what I love is you've got a very clear culture that it feels like a family here. And I haven't spent a lot of time here, but I can feel it instantly. And I can see that your team are razor sharp. So I think that combination is very unique.
Yeah.
They're so on it. They're really, really aware. But there's also a lot of camaraderie. It's relaxed, whilst they're also, you can see their commitment. So I really love that. Everyone's smiling. Everyone is open in conversation. There's none of this stiffness. It just felt like it had like a fluidity to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm coming back. I'm coming back here. I love it.
Come back every week. Well, you were here last week.
I know, right?
I got you here this week, so I got to get you here every week.
Can't stay away.
You bring the positivity.
I mean that though, and there's not many places. There should be more places where you can have a great day at work.
Yeah.
It's important you think about how many hours of your day in your life you're in an office.
Yeah.
So you're really role modeling the way as a leader especially you and your wife as well. Like you see that you guys show up and you can see that your team are like, they learn from that because you're showing up. You're not telling people to do something that you're not doing for yourselves.
Right. What about culture being called cult? Like sometimes people say culture is cult. So you guys run a cult, because sometimes people see us so happy and so hardworking, and we're like celebrating and we're like working out together. Like we have our gym here, you saw. We have the bar. So people think like that's a cult. Like one day, or they've told me like, Albert, you built a cult. You just want to keep everybody there. And what is culture cult, or how do you compare those two?
I mean, if it's a cult, then sign me up. So I think it's, I mean, who's saying that to you? Do you know what I mean? Is it
not people doing better?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you've also got to be mindful of who you listen to.
Yeah.
And I think if you went and you asked your staff, like, how do you feel at work? What's your well-being like? You're looking after people's well-being. And I think that is a very responsible thing to do. It's responsible because mental health is important.
Yeah.
It's also responsible because businesses are more profitable when their team is happy. So you look at the ability for people to be effective in the workplace when they feel good and when they're working to their strengths. You know that when you know what you're good at, you become stronger and more successful because of it.
Yeah.
So it's actually smart for you as a business owner, as well as someone who actually cares.
Yeah. Can you build culture from home, or do you think culture has to be in a workplace environment?
I definitely think you can build it from home. I run remote teams, and I always have. Like, I'm from Great Britain, but I live in Los Angeles. So you've got to be more intentional about it. They've done a lot of studies now after COVID that shows that remote working isn't actually as effective as we thought it was. And there's something that happens when we're in person. It's just a different texture. It's why we both run in-person events. Something different about the way that it feels.
Yeah.
But I do think you can build it. And even looking at some of the tech applications like Slack, they've got well-being ran all the way through it. So you can set up different ways of communicating. You can use emojis now. You can have your boundaries in terms of when you're in the app and not in the app.
Yeah, because emojis, like you could give a command and then you put a nice emoji and it feels sweeter, right?
Yeah, exactly.
People, you mentioned people that call culture cult, or people that criticize, or people that hear negativity, or people, let's say people that fall into gossip. Why do you think that people do that? Because, I mean, I would say there's very few people that are really mentally tough and like you, and they don't let any little thing that happens get them off track. But I find it that most people, they hear a little rumor or gossip, or somebody says Albert has a cold, and then it affects them mentally, and then they want to make like 10 phone calls and tell everybody in the company or spread rumors, and then it just spreads, and then they're talking about that, when if they just ignore that and they're just, oh, that's cold, yeah, that's good, that's a good cold, I want to be part of that. And then they get to work, they would make more money, they would be happy. But a lot of people get off track with so little nonsense. Like, why does that happen, and how do you correct that if it's correctable?
I think, first of all, you've got to decide what you're committed to. So if you're building a team, or if you're even just for your personal set of values, like, I really believe no blaming and complaining and no gossiping. Like, I just don't have that in my communities. I'm not available for it.
How do you stop gossip, though?
I actually tell people. So it's in our principles, our policies. I literally say no jealousy or gossip. Like, keep it positive. We're here to celebrate each other. If you have an issue with someone, then you go direct to the source and you say, like, is it okay if I share something with you? Like, I'd love to just work through this together. And I always believe in, if you communicate clearly enough, there's always a win-win. So someone could come to you and say, listen, I'm really concerned that you're building a cult here. And then you can clear it up. you can talk through it and it would have a positive resolution. But what happens when people gossip is it's like this downward spiral of negativity, and all you're doing is wasting your own time and energy.
Right.
So why wouldn't you put that energy into something that's constructive instead?
Yeah. Is that what you mean by we are each other's medicine?
I mean, we are each other's medicine. For me, that's relationships are what the real rich is. We're only here on this planet for a short period of time. So yes, you can have all of the money in the world, but who are you going to enjoy it with? And I think that's something that you've built here, and it's something that I really look for in my life. It's also the regrets of the dying. So when people are on their deathbed, one of the things that they say is they wish they spent more time with the people that they love.
Yeah.
So I just think we can do that right now. Like, why are we building businesses if we're not going to enjoy our days? So how can you start with the lifestyle that you want to lead and the people that you want to spend it with, and then reverse engineer your business to support that goal?
Yeah. Think about the money that you have right now, whether it's net worth or in the bank or just total assets. Would you trade that to be 20 years younger or no?
I'm getting 20 years younger all the time. I'm into biohacking, so I'm always getting younger. It's an interesting question, because what could you do? Would I have the same wisdom?
You would just, you would be 20 years younger with your same wisdom, but no money. You'll start at zero, but you're 20 years younger. But you know everything you know now.
Easy, I'd totally trade it.
Yeah.
Totally trade it.
Because you could make it like this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How much have you grown in those last 20 years? Like when you were 20 years younger, where were you in life, and how much have you grown? And did you kind of screw around for 10 years and then the last 10 years have been the biggest, or maybe the last 5 years have been the biggest, or have you just improved year after year for 20 years?
Yeah, I think it's important to improve daily, never mind year after year. It's more around what is your personal commitment to being a successful person today? Because that compound effect, it's just like the compounding effect of money, the compounding effect of positive daily decisions means when you look back on yourself 20 years later, you are a different person. So I'm 37 now, so that would have been 17. That was right around the time when I was deciding not to be an engineer and to be a psychologist. But to go from there to where I am right now, that didn't happen overnight. Yeah. It happened. And I think that this is interesting. People look and they say, oh, they've done it so easily, or that happened so fast. But they don't see the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. Yeah. And it's actually the dedication to keep on going no matter what and not quit that makes the biggest difference. I was very fortunate because I did have that career shift very early on. But it didn't work out straight away. It took me until 2015. So it probably took me halfway through that 20 years. I had the academic expertise, but I didn't make a lot of money until 10 years through that journey.
Yeah, you mentioned in business you had some like times that weren't perfect when you started your businesses and all that stuff, when you were growing them. How hard did they get? Like, did you ever have like a moment where you were like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out? And how did you get out of it if it happened?
I have been in a place where I've wanted to quit more times than I can count. So
how long ago was that?
Probably within the last 30 days.
Oh,
honestly,
30 days?
yeah,
really?
seriously.
Really? I thought your life was perfect now, and you look like 20 years younger. And
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, life is never perfect.
Yeah.
And they say like more money, more problems.
Yeah.
I don't think it's more money, more problems. I think it's when you continue to play a bigger game and you are committed to growth and you have big goals, you just get a different set of struggles.
Right.
So my struggle when I first started out in online business and my coaching business was, how am I going to make money? Like, it was literally that. It was basic needs. How am I going to take this online course and sell it on the internet and make money? Then in that first month, I went from selling a group coaching program and having one person signed up, which is not a group,
Yeah.
to making $35,000 in that same month. I could have quit then. Absolutely. Could have quit. I could have quit at times where I've been traveling the world and I've had issues with my visa. I could have quit then. I could have quit when I had team issues, or when I launched a ads campaign and I put 100K into the ads campaign and it didn't work. But I think what you learn as an entrepreneur, I always think we need to have the mindset of a student. We always need to be willing to learn and grow and never assume that we know it all. I think that as soon as you assume that you know it all, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I think that that's like, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'm always curious around how we can continue to grow, especially with things like AI and tech and things moving so fast now. We have a responsibility to keep going. Otherwise, we'll get stuck.
You said something very important about playing a bigger game, because I'm always playing a bigger game. And it's like I make scary moves where I scare people in my team and, you know, in the companies, in my family, and they're like very scared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we got to play a bigger game. And then sometimes I kind of, you know, make mistakes and then I have to figure it out. But I think that I learn and I grow more in the hard times that I put myself in than when times are going very easy and everybody's making money. How important is it to play a bigger game?
I think it's vitally important that we stretch ourselves. And one of the things that you hear about the most successful entrepreneurs is it's often not the decision that they make, it's the speed of making the decision and how fast you move forwards and how fast you're willing to fail, because that's really when you learn. And somebody might still be thinking about making the decision by the time you're like 10 steps along the road. So I always think it's important to make those courageous moves and decisions, whether it's writing a book or launching your first event or hiring 10 new team members.
Right.
Because you just don't know unless you try.
Yeah. But Nick, how do you get, like for you, like maybe for me, it's easy right now, or people think it's easy to get into bigger podcasts, bigger events, bigger stages. But how does somebody like Lucy out there that nobody knows, they have 1,000 followers or less. They have no subscribers on YouTube. They just don't have a following and they're getting started, but they're smart. They're super talented. They read a book a week. They go to all the seminars. They learned a lot. They're like bright minds and they have something to share, but they can't get into bigger podcasts and bigger stages. The only podcast that they can get into is maybe podcasts that have no subscribers at all. And so what do you do in that point? Like how like go back to where you started and you couldn't get that. You had a group with one person. Like, how did you get out of that and make 35K, 40K in a month?
Yeah, I think on the podcast front, it's about what are you an expert in, or what is your unique message that you're here to share, and really owning that.
Yeah.
And then starting where you're at. So going on the podcast that has no subscribers, because it gives you practice on communicating your message. So when you do get on the big one, then you're going to be able to speak clearly and you're going to know what you're talking about. At some point in time, you had 1,000 followers.
Right.
I had 1,000 followers. All I did was take what I had at the time, maximize it, tell everybody about it, and then leverage it for the next thing. So whether it was media. So let's say I went on the local radio in Newcastle, and then I used that local radio show to get onto national radio. Or I used the local radio show to get in a newspaper or a magazine.
Yeah.
And now we've done Forbes and Goop and Money and Entrepreneur and Business Insider, and we've been on the news, and we've done all of the big things now, but we didn't go from sitting in my cold apartment in Newcastle to being featured in Forbes.
Yeah.
There was a lot of small steps along the way. So I would just say start where you're at and build it. Have the patience.
So practice is very important. Practice makes you better.
For sure.
Because sometimes people tell me, hey, you know what, I want to get very good at speaking. I want to get very good at interviewing. And I tell them that it's like sex. So you can't kind of like read a book on how to have sex and then you become like the best. It takes practice.
You've got to get out there.
Same thing with, you can't read a book on how to play basketball and become very good at playing basketball. But if you practice enough, like Kobe, I read somewhere that he used to practice 4 times before a game. So he used to wake up extra early. He had a practice session, went back home, came back, another practice session, went back, another practice session, took a nap, another practice session, and then he would play the game that same night. So if you think about that, like when you're practicing, you're going to get better, because when I got on stage for the first time, I was shaking, I was nervous, I was stuttering, I was scared, my accent was really bad, and then I just started practicing, and then the more I do it, I just got better. So people ask me like, hey, how are you good now, and how are you able to interview or talk to people that are up there? And I always say it's practice. Like, do you think that people are always gonna need the practice to get to a certain level, and how much do you practice? How much self-improvement do you do? Do you have a mentor still? Do you still practice, or are you just perfect right now, like how you look?
Never perfect. Definitely never perfect. So I think that, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. So you look at child prodigies and you look at someone who's like amazing at basketball or piano,
right?
And you can track it back and you can often see they're really good because they practiced. I think with things like being on stage, you get the actual practice. So if you're doing a TED Talk, you want to practice the specific thing.
10,000 hours before a TED Talk?
10,000 hours. But that would be transferring your confidence from similar experiences as well. So whilst you might do the specialized practice of the talk itself, of the keynote, you're also going to want to look at where else are you speaking. So are you also practicing in the house? Are you also leading Zoom calls? Are you also utilizing dinner conversations to practice and test out your message? It doesn't just have to be that specialized sit down and stare in the mirror or practice the one thing. Yeah. It's more around how are you building the muscle, and then transferring it into those other areas that you want to specialize in.
Yeah. So what about when you're having hard days? Because I know that's one of your chapters too. Like, how do you deal with hard days? And then does that tie into like the title, like One More Day? What does one more day mean?
Yeah, one more day is just getting through one more day. So it's having that sense of grit and resilience and commitment, and also a sense of hope. It's not just this kind of like deep kind of got to get it done. It's looking at how can we focus on optimistic futures. I think one of the things that we've seen over the last few years in the world is there's been a lot of change, and people just aren't equipped with the psychological, emotional tools to be able to feel good. And we know that when you feel good, you're more productive, you're able to be more successful. But really, we have a mental health crisis going on in the world.
Yeah.
So for me, One More Day is also about saving lives. It's also about, some people don't feel like they have the coping skills to get through a relationship breakup or getting fired from work or losing a family member. So positive psychology gives you the tools that transcend business, but also those harder days as well. And I think what's important is having something that you can reach for that feels easy.
Yeah.
So not a complex framework or having to go and study something for a long time, but what is the gateway tool that you can pick up?
Yeah.
And it could be a workout.
Yeah.
It could be a meditation.
Yeah. What about millionaires and being mentally healthy? Because I know you help millionaires be mentally healthy. Is that kind of like the requirement to be a millionaire? You have to be mentally healthy? Because I know that you need a strong mindset to go through what millionaires, go through, because if not, everybody would be a millionaire or multi-millionaire. How does that work? Mentally healthy millionaires.
Yeah, I think this really taps into the conversation of what is happiness and can money make you happy? And yes, it can to a certain extent, because you have your basic human needs satisfied, you're able to have amazing experiences. But there's also a lot of people who have a lot of money who also aren't happy. So there's a lot of people that reach the goal that they think they want to reach and then not fulfilled when they get there. So it's looking at what is actually meaningful for you on the way to the goal.
Yeah.
And how can you enjoy the process along the way?
What would you rather be, a multi-millionaire not happy, or a happy person without money?
I think it depends on your values and your goals.
Or both.
So both. And it's looking at, for example, my dad and his wife.
Yeah.
They're so happy. Like, dad used to have a really good job. And then when he remarried, he had a heart condition. He decided he just wanted to live a simple life. So happy, not bothered about money. Loves sending me photos of the garden that he's done.
Yeah.
That's his values.
Yeah.
That's his life. He loves it. For me, one of my core values is growth. I want big impact. I want to do the best that I can, help the most people that I can. So there's no right or wrong. It's more looking at what is it that's important for you.
Even if it's a lot of pressure and if it's stressful?
Yeah.
Do you, what are your thoughts on stress?
Well, I think about some days, on those days when I want to quit, I think, should I just stop? Should I just give up? But knowing who I am, I would just have to start again. And it's easier to keep the momentum going than it is to stop and start all over again. So I think it's more around how can you develop that resiliency inside of yourself so you recommit rather than quit.
Yeah.
And really use the tools and think, why am I doing this? And I think it's coming back to your mission and your purpose. So why do you have the businesses that you have? And maybe for someone that's watching, it's their family. They want a better life for their kids and their grandkids. Maybe it is they want to change something in the world socially. Digging into that purpose will help you get through the hard days, because it's what helps you tap into the energy when maybe you don't have any.
Yeah. So when you feel like quitting, you recommit.
Recommit. Connect with the mission. I think about what I want my legacy to be. I think about what I want to leave the planet in a better way. And I also think if I'm not growing, then I'm not going to feel good.
What drives you?
For me, it's helping more people be positively mentally healthy and helping them live with unstoppable success in themselves and in their businesses. I think entrepreneurship is a vehicle for personal growth.
Do you feel like you can't let people down, or certain people down, or is it just you that you can't let yourself down?
I can't let myself down, but also I want to have a big impact. I feel a responsibility because of what I know from positive psychology and the unique blend of psychology and business that I have.
Yeah.
I feel a responsibility to do something with that.
Yeah. How does psychology help you be rich?
Great question. So if you look at emotions and you look at the statistic around, you're 39% more productive when you're in a positive state rather than at negative or neutral. You can really easily see the benefits of it with regard to getting more done. You then look at creativity. You look at just how much more easily you're able to build relationships when you're in a positive state. How much more easily you're able to reach your goals when you focus on hope and optimism and the best version. So the science actually tells you, it's not just me, it's the science, it's proven. And then you look at what actually helps you build a good team.
Yeah.
having a role model and having a leader that does have good values.
Yeah.
That is working to their strengths.
Yeah. But you're very talkative. You have a great personality, great people skills, very positive. So for you, you have the looks. It's very easy for you to get people to like you and make a great impression and go out there in front of the camera or in front of a stage with a lot of people. What about for somebody that's just average looking and they're very shy and they're scared of the camera and they're scared of people, they're scared to pick up the phone and they have no confidence? Were you there like sometime, and if you were, how did you get here? And what would you advise people that are very, very like scared or they feel ugly, they don't feel worth it?
I think everybody feels like that in some way and at some time. And
you still feel like that?
Yeah, I can't even believe I'm going to tell you this, but if you go and look at my old YouTube videos, you will laugh so hard because I'm so awkward and I don't move my arms at all. I'm sat like this. I was so worried about where the flower and the plant pot was behind me. And they're just terrible. They're horrendous. But I'm a firm believer and you have to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. So actually in a lot of my online courses, I keep some of those older videos in there because I want our students to be able to see that just by keeping on going and by showing up and getting visible and just trying and not actually caring about what other people think, then you will get there. I think my breakthrough was realizing that what I was scared of was the judgment of other people.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about that. How do you get rid of that though? Because a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to get criticized. Oh my God, I'm getting criticized. I'm going to stop. Like, how do you not care about other people's opinions about what you're doing?
I think it's a sign that you're actually doing something right, because people wouldn't be having an opinion unless you were creating waves. So polarization is not a bad thing. I actually had a hate thread written about me on the internet. And this was many years ago. Someone found it. It was a hate thread that was written about her. She said, who's this girl that's on my hate thread? Why are they mentioning her as well?
Yeah.
Her and I ended up becoming the best of friends. I'm going to visit her in Spain in a couple of weeks. A few months later, after we connected via that hate thread, we launched a multi-six-figure JV. And we just said, we're like, let's make something positive out of this. Instead of the people sat tapping on the keyboards at home.
Yeah.
Like, we kept moving forwards.
Yeah. So you turn a hater into a fanatic.
Oh, yeah.
So haters are good then?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you get criticism or hate, that's good?
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like, let's be real. We're human. We have emotions. It can sting.
I don't care. Like, I don't even... Like, sometimes I'm even... Like, I want to... Like, when they hate on me or they criticize me on social media on comments or whatever, like, I leave it there. I'm like, leave it there. Like, I like it. Like, I get happy. Like, I smile. Very few things to make me smile. But when I have a hater that says this weird line about me, I like it. But then I find my friends and followers, they start defending me. So I don't even have to defend myself because they're defending me. And then the only thing that it does, it just motivates me to keep working. So like I feel when you have no haters or you have nobody criticizing you, then you should look in the mirror and figure out, what am I doing wrong that nobody cares about me?
I've had some haters as well on the internet where they've shared something, they've shared an opinion, because that's ultimately all it is. It's an opinion.
They're just internet haters.
Yeah, I've had conversations before where I've said, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate you sharing this, and here's my insights around it. And they've ended up apologizing, and they've said, Nick, like, you've just responded with so much grace and compassion.
Positivity.
Yeah, and I was having such a bad day, and now I feel really bad. And we've made it into a win-win.
Yeah.
So I think it's looking at how you want to handle it. You can just delete and block. You can celebrate them like you. You could have a conversation. It's really about protecting your emotional state and your well-being in the
I actually
process.
tried that before. I do it whenever I have free time. Like somebody will tell me, like, you fucking scumbag or things like that, or like they'll give me the F word, and then I just tell them, hey, like, why are you calling me that? What did I do to you? And then they're surprised. They're like, oh, you answered me, and they said, oh, because you're a scammer. And I'm like, how am I a scammer? Like, have you looked me up? Have you seen that I've had a company for 12 years? I've been in self-employed for 21 years. I came from that. Have you seen that? And they're like, oh, and then they end up apologizing. It's the funniest thing, but it works. Going to psychology of sales. How can having the right psychology help you in sales, and people that suck in sales? Like, can we help them with that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of sales is psychology, because what you're looking to do when you're making a sale is you're shifting somebody's behavior. You want to change the behavior of that buyer from being a browser to someone that then is making a buying decision. So whether you're looking at copywriting and you're looking at how are you connecting emotionally through your copy, or you've got someone that's actually on a sales call, like a closer, that person is influencing the conversation and is looking to determine what somebody else's emotional need is.
Yeah.
Where they're at right now, what feels bad about that, and then where they want to be and what the vision is. So it's all psychology.
Yeah.
All of it. And I think that once you recognize that, you can really start to enjoy the process so much more. I used to be scared of sales. Now it's my favorite thing, because I know that you can change lives by making sales.
You still prospect a lot?
I've never prospected. So I don't do outbound sales. I do inbound sales. So we would do more of, like, let's say you go on your live and then you have somebody message you, DM you to say that they want to come to an event or they want a particular product. We do more of that, so people are volunteering that they want it.
And then you have your closers call?
They could get on a sales call. They could buy through DMs, buy on the website. Now we have a lot of different routes to...
You have people DMing them? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that like from your page or different pages?
From my page. Or I'll do it as well. I love a voice note.
Yeah? That... Yeah, that.
with this accent.
Yeah, because that actually closes them like that. What about ads? Do you spend a lot of money on ads?
So we've run a lot of ads in the past, and it's not for everyone. I do actually teach marketing and ad campaigns, and I love it. Like, I love a funnel.
The funnel, That's important, right?
I think it's super interesting, and it's like just engineering it and like doing it step by step. Ads are great because, like we talked about before, you can buy the audience and you can get out to a lot more people than you can just by doing it on social media, especially with algorithms now, where you might have a big audience, but it might be 1,000 people that are seeing it. So with ads, you can get in front of more people in a more targeted way.
Got it.
So we've run ads for what I call an SLO funnel, which is a low ticket offer that would then get upgraded into something that's higher level. We also run ads for free things, free downloadable masterclasses or PDFs all across the board.
I don't want to miss this part, but in the beginning we were talking about like how these people you coach make 20 million, 13 million, 100 million. So some of these people, do they have the subscription model, like where they pay $47 a month, $7 a month? What's the secret number for that? Is that just virtual videos? Is that kind of like the Andrew Tate method?
So that would be, it's a continuity offer, and usually they work by if you've got a large audience. So a lot of people get excited about continuity because it's monthly recurring revenue on autopilot. So it's semi-passive to a degree. But where I see people go wrong with that is they launch it to a small audience. Now they've got 10 people paying $27 or $47, and they have to create content every single month to keep up with it. So then they end up not loving their business. Whereas if you do it at the right time and you launch it to a big enough audience, you sell enough places, you've got 1,000 people in it or a few hundred, then it becomes much more lucrative for you. You could also use that as a stepping stone to upgrade people to a higher level thing, or you could have a higher level thing that you then downsell into the membership. So I think it's about looking at what the goal is and where in your business growth you are.
Is there a magic number for price and how many hours you have inside the virtual monthly?
So I've seen memberships done just with 1 hour live calls per month. So it's really simple. I've also seen them done where you have just a digital library and people will join a membership because they want a result. They will stay because of the community and they'll leave if they feel overwhelmed. So if there's too much content in there and it's not organized, then it can be really challenging for your retention rates.
Yeah.
So one of the things that can help with that is something like an AI-based roadmap for a membership. So people do a quiz, for example, and then they say what their priority goals are. And then the AI can organize the content and show them what would be best for them at that time.
Do you have a student that has one of those that has a lot of subscribers? Yeah, like how many subscribers more or less?
Like 3,000 in a membership.
And they're paying how much a month?
Anywhere between 49 to 97. So low ticket.
And how do you grow those subscribers? Just speaking in big stages, or do you do email blast?
So for a membership, the best way to launch it would be a masterclass. So like a free live webinar or a live online challenge. And then you could also have, you could have your podcast show notes. You could link to your membership in there. You could also have it on your YouTube channel. You could definitely sell it from stages. It's never just one thing anymore.
Yeah.
It's like all of the different traffic sources
to
point to the thing.
Yeah, I just feel like it takes longer to build that. And I think about like, man, if I could just sell a high ticket, I make way more money. But I think you would recommend doing both, right?
Yeah, my business model has always been high ticket.
Yeah.
I have low ticket things as well, but for me, because I have a small audience, it made more sense to sell. Because if you're selling something high ticket, you have to sell it fewer times.
Yeah.
So I looked at just what can I do to maximize the revenue with the size of the audience that I've got.
Yeah.
So I started selling high ticket and I've kind of stuck with that with masterminds, certifications.
Yeah. What about micro moves? Like what are micro moves?
That's a tiny little thing that you can do to make a positive shift in your day. So it might be something like 3 minutes of breath work, or it might be something like going for a 10-minute walk, or putting on your favorite music. The thing that is the easiest.
What about having a glass of champagne?
Having a glass of champagne, absolutely.
Yeah. See, you guys heard that.
Recommendations from a psychologist.
So reading versus audiobooks. What's the difference in if somebody buy your book and read it, or should they listen to your audiobook?
Personal preference. I love to do both. So I just recorded the audiobook, which was so much fun. And I love listening to audiobooks because it feels very personal. It's very connecting.
Yeah.
I'm also very old school. So I've got a million books and I love sitting down with a physical copy.
Yeah.
Usually I'll buy both because I like to listen to an audiobook when I'm walking or I'm driving. But then if I'm in the house, I much prefer a physical real book.
Yeah, that's why I prefer audiobooks, because I like hearing them when I'm showering, driving, working out, things like that. Because the iPhone is waterproof, so I just listen to it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good shout, because then you can maximize your time as well. I call that task stacking.
Task stacking. Yeah. What other ways do you task stack?
So like I might go out and do a call for one of my investments and do an advisory call when I'm on a walk. That's a really good thing. Or listening to audiobooks when you're cooking, or let's say, or when I'm on the bike. I do it when I'm on the bike as well. Yeah. Because then you can do, I can do messages. I can do Slack messages when I'm getting my hair done.
Yeah.
I used to think, I can't go to the hair salon because I have to work.
Yeah.
But you can do both.
So a quick few things before we wrap up, and I want to let people know where to get your new book and the bonus that you're offering right now. But what do you mean by when you say raising our voices? What does that mean?
So that section, the book is really looking at how can we be a stand for the things that are important to us, and how can we make sure that we're also looking after each other along the way.
Yeah.
So when we look at mental health, we look at populations, so Hispanic populations, we look at African American populations, Indigenous. There's a lot of groups that suffer more strongly because of the issues with diversity and equity. So it's really about, if you see something that's going on or going wrong where somebody hasn't got a voice, how could you be a stand for them?
Yeah.
And I think it's really honoring that we have a responsibility to do that, and not just thinking because I have privilege or white privilege that everything's all right for me.
Yeah.
And like for me, I'm committed to really making a difference in that space.
But what if you talk and you just say what you believe in, and it affects your brand, or you get people that unfollow you, or you get hate because you're speaking out, you shouldn't do that, and it creates a controversy.
Controversy is not a bad thing, and also if it's part of a ethical and values-driven your set of principles, your core beliefs.
Yeah.
So you have to decide, what is it that you are a stand for?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a stand for mental health. If I see racism happening, I'm going to say something, even if it makes people feel uncomfortable, because if you're not raising your voice, then you're actually condoning these things.
Yeah.
So I think it's deciding what is important for you.
How important is manifestation?
Ooh, love it. Love it.
Give me an example.
So an example would be, I decided many years ago, that I was going to go to Necker Island and be on that island, Sir Richard Branson's private island. And I knew that I was going to do that. So I lived in my little dream world inside of my head, and I used to think about it and visualize it and practice my meditations and focus on it. And then I got 2 different invitations to go and do that. Same thing with my book deals. I visualize the outcome. I decide what it is I want to create, and I put my attention on it.
How'd you land those 2 opportunities to go there, Necker Island?
So I say, first of all, get clear on what the goal is. Then connect with the emotion and how it would feel to have it. Because it's actually connecting with that emotion and getting into the gratitude and feeling like you've already got it.
Yeah.
That helps you to receive it. So rather than putting it way out in the future, feel like you've already got it right now. And then start to take action. Don't just sit on your ass and like hope that it's going to happen.
But what action did you take? Did you pay money? Did you get introduced to relationships? Like, who invited you there? And then once you got there, how is Richard Branson?
Oh, he's amazing. He's really awesome. So it's such a graceful guy, and it feels very special to have been there in a place where there's a temple, and there's been so many of the world's leaders.
Does he like to have fun?
Yeah, he loves that. It's the main thing he likes to do.
Yeah.
So the first time I met him, he was actually dressed as Peter Pan, and then he did a costume change to be dressed as Dracula. So he loves that, and he comes and has all of the drinks and the sushi kayak and the pool and everything with us. So super fun.
So he likes to drink?
Yeah.
Yeah? Like wine or just everything?
I think it was like a strawberry daiquiri, Yeah. Yeah.
What does he do all day?
I don't know what he does all day, but when he's there, he does Q&As with us, and we go there as part of an impact project with Virgin Unite. So we go and we look at what different projects are working on around the world and how we can support as a group of entrepreneurs.
And then how was there something special that you did to get there? Or?
So I got invited through a friend. So my friend Natalie runs a group, and we get together and we go there every 2 years. Her and I had met. She was in Canada. I was in Newcastle. We both had online businesses. She's an amazing Emmy award-winning entrepreneur. we got introduced through a Japanese friend who was in town in LA, and we'd both just moved here.
Yeah.
So we built a relationship first, and I didn't know that she was planning on doing this thing. And she said, Nick, I'm going to put this group together to go to Necker. Would you want to come? I was like, well, now that you come to mention it, yes, I would.
Yeah.
So I think it's about showing up as your most authentic self, working hard in the direction of your goals and your dreams, deciding what it is that you want and committing that you're going to get it, but then staying open. Because I didn't force that opportunity. It just kind of landed in my lap. And
you don't want to seem like you're begging, right?
No, and it's an amazing experience to be able to go there and make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
So it was actually better than I'd expected. So I always say it's the vision or something better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is like, you don't want to appear desperate. I think like, cause like if I want to get, let's say I want to get something, or I want to ask for a favor or something, like, I think if you just do a lot of good deeds and you give value first, then you'll receive. And as opposed to like being a beggar, asking for things first.
I think show up and give first, but then also one of my old mentors said to me, Nick, you've got a really good level of deservability. Like you can go into any room and it doesn't matter what kind of room it is. Like you've got this presence that you're there and you deserve to be there. Not everyone has that. And that's actually something I encourage all of us to continue to develop. Not putting anybody below you or above you, and just being present with the people that you're with and having that student's mindset, looking to give and also to learn.
Yeah. Awesome, Nick. So look, September 24th, you're making a big launch, right? Your new book, One More Day.
Yeah.
If people want to buy it or they want to pre-order, they get a bonus. And can you give them how they do that, and also let them know where they can follow you? And
absolutely. So you can go to onemooredaybook.com, and the book's on pre-order now. It's also available in Target, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's going to be in airports all around the world. But for the pre-order, to get access to that bonus free course, it's onemooredaybook.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being part of this show. And
thanks for having me.
We have to do a round two.
Oh, yeah. I'm down.
Thank you.